Still on matters touching on the drought, religious leaders together with climate proponents from Green Faith are calling on the government to intervene on East Africa crude oil pipeline project that is being constructed in 2 East African countries. The organization says that the construction of the pipeline could undermine the survival of aquatic life in Lake Victoria, which is the second largest freshwater lake in the world.
Religious leaders drawn from several denominations and the climate proponents are condemning the East Africa crude oil pipeline project that seeks to construct an oil pipeline from Tanzania to Uganda, with part of it passing under Lake Victoria. They are faulting the lack of public participation before the commencement of the project, as well as lack of openness of the agreement signed between the governments and the private sector, and the social impact arising from the construction that will see several families displaced.
Most of the complaints that are coming from the communities who are displaced in Uganda and Tanzania is that there's no transparency in terms of compensation. As if that is not enough, they were not consulted whether they wanted to move away from their lands or not. So due process and public participation was not taken into consideration.
The developing countries are suffering from what is being imposed on them by the developed countries, and we appeal to the developed countries not to force new fossil fuel projects into our countries.
Are options that can be explored so that people are not unnecessarily displaced and people are not unnecessarily harmed.
The global director of Green Faith, Marine Wara, warned that the investment in the pipeline could exacerbate the effects of climate change, undermining the livelihoods of communities in the East Africa region.
We cannot do that when we have such projects coming into Africa, because it's going to triple, the greenhouse gas emissions. And so this makes the project, an environmental bomb.
We support development, we are not against development, but at what expense? Is it development at the expense of the environment? Development at the expense of people being displaced? We say no.
And we have to speak against any person who does anything that degrades the environment.
They condemned the harassment of students in Uganda who had protested the construction of the pipeline.
While what we've been seeing up to date is intimidation of people who are asking questions, arrests of students who are protesting against the project.
Anything that comes to destroy humanity, we as religious leaders, we stand against it.
We feel we have a duty, a God-sent duty, to talk against anything that is going to affect the climate negatively.
It is estimated that once complete, the pipeline will cover a distance of 1,445 kilometers, cruising across East Africa.
Africa climate proponents have laid demands ahead of COP27, and some of these demands include climate financing, adaptation and mitigation, loss and damage compensation, and most importantly, they are demanding that Africa to be recognized as one of the vulnerable continents that has been worst hit by climate change. Yet they only contribute 0.4% of carbon and greenhouse emission.
Opicho Chemtai for Lunchtime News.